Good afternoon. Welcome to OptionsTender. Good morning, everybody. It's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're doing this intraday. If you're interested in getting these videos intraday, consider becoming a YouTube member. It's 99 cents. Otherwise, you'll get these videos at 4 p.m. No big deal. We're going to go through SPX on a couple time frames. We're going to check out a comparison that a trader slash analyst on Twitter was looking at. I was looking at it this morning, and they're comparing this move here to something like the Corona crash. So I was comparing the 2000, and I want to show you some interesting things about the Corona crash in 2020, just to give an idea of what these initial moves could look like. And maybe next week I'll do perhaps 1929 on its first move, and then maybe we'll compare a couple more, depending on what's happening with the market, because it might start moving pretty soon here. I mean, it is already, but we're only 1% from the top. So, but either way, I wasn't comparing this necessarily because I think it's going to happen the same way as 2000. I was just giving a good example of what would happen in the beginning of a recessionary type move, and especially at this high of a degree where we're comparing it to 2029, not the scale of it, but the degree, meaning that this structure here is correcting up here. So you have a nice sharp move. Maybe we get a sideways move here before we continue. And do I know that for a fact that this is directly related to this one, or is it this first structure? There's different ways you can count that. It's all speculation, but I do think with the point that we're at, that this is a really, really big inflection area. So do we correct and hit it one more time? That's always a possibility as well. And we've been talking about either scenario. So I have recessionary targets and things like that on another video. Those have been posted at the end of the video, so check them out. So here we go with, I always like to start with this chart right now, SPX. We have the 2029, 2000 top, and we're at the 2024 top forming right now. Clearly, you have this itty bitty monthly candle that's happening right now. The month's not over, but we'll see what happens before it ends here in December. Go into the weekly, and we'll start to compare here on the weekly. Let's see. Let's do this one here. Make sure we have enough time on this one. 10 years. Yes. Okay. All right. So I have a couple arrows, and then I'll translate this over to SPY, and then we'll look at the QQQ. And I said in the Discord playfully, nothing has changed. And I know that nobody wants to hear that, because it seems like the market is continuing to just go in my face, not necessarily everybody in there, but anybody who's followed my direction. The price action has gone up, and it seems like it's gone up forever. So I'm going to show you the same setup. It hasn't changed. Okay, so here's the comparison from 2029, and I have it on SPX for a reason. I have some cycles that I'll show you in a second. So from the top here, the weekly top, and going into 2 bars the week after, and that I just want to get the first initial move out of this. There is a big move, a sharp bounce, and then a continuation on there for a 3-wave move before skyrocketing to all-time highs, a V-shaped reversal. But this move here, it took 6 days, 2 weekly bars at 15.84% of a drop. That's amazing. Now that's the same percentage of drop from 2000, and that's what I want to show. And there's a lot of information here, so consider playing this video at 1.25 or 1.5 speed, just so you can get all of it instead of shutting this off early. This information is super important. So 15% move. And that happened in 2000. It happened in 16 trading days. This one happened in 6. Okay, so that was the big comparison. But what I want to kind of show you here is a weekly cycle. This is not my analysis. This is Ask Slim, but I thought it was interesting. I just want to share this in comparison with where he has his brackets, and I'm not going to go through all of his work. I just want to show from this low here, we had this is a zone. We had this low at about 127, and then 1, 2 on the third week we have a reversal bar. Okay, and that's headed into the next major bracket. All right, and then we had a crash at that point. So what's significant about this? Well, this is the 2020 beginning of Trump in 2020, the presidency, and I'm not comparing it to him in general, but in my opinion, we had, let's see here, in, what was it, November? So in November, you had the elections, whatever date it was, and you had the Trump bump, some people are calling it right now. So they like his policies, all this and that, and you can argue this isn't about fundamentals, but you can argue that this was the Corona crash. So why are you comparing it? Well, I just thought it was interesting. At this point, they're probably going to name it whatever brings the market down. There's going to be some sort of catalyst, and he was comparing. Yuri was comparing the right here. We're at this bracket area. We have a low here, and 1, 2, and on the third week we have a reversal bar. So this, if it's significant, next week should be a pretty big down week if there's any comparison at all. And that's the big thing, is I just want to show you it's in the same spot of the cycles, and we just so happen to be in the beginning of I know it's not the same extent of a move, and nothing's the same, always a rhyme. We have our Trump bump. Okay, so does this continue higher? Perhaps it just keeps going higher, this and continues, and maybe some other comparison comes out later. But if we do get our reversal here, I'm just kind of showing you that situation. So let's go ahead and go over to SPY. And let's go on to the daily time frame. And on the daily, we have our bearish rising wedge. Continue to talk about, is this the top here? I would suggest that, but has it gone against me before? Sure. We are starting to break down. We're starting to get under that 8 EMA. We'll see where that goes. And what's significant about this line is that's from 2007. So we hit that. And remember, I like SPX because it's a much more crisp charts. And we're at the top of in SPX, but here we had a throw over. And remember, SPY has the dividends, and it kind of skews the charts a little bit. And ES, the futures, has contract rolls, so that's why those are tough to analyze over time. But this one, we had a throw over, bounced off of the 2000, and are we going to break down here, or are we going to gap up and go as the usual MO, it seems. So in comparison with the daily time frame, I didn't do it from this top here. I did it from, just to be a little bit more precise on how it happened in 2020. I put it at this top here, and it just in comparison of days. And so in the red is the drop from 2000, and not in a straight line, but clearly it looks like that. And this happened in 16 days, 23 days, 16 bars. So that's 16 trading days. And in comparison, This was the 2020 and first initial drop here, which was roughly 15.5%, 6 days, 6 bars. So that's 6 trading days. Okay. That's what I was getting at. But look how, after we drew this one, I said, oh my gosh, that impossible. That's never happening again. But it got worse in 2020. So again, I don't know if these things are going to play out. I don't know if this is going to be the actual top, but we are in a bearish setup nevertheless. And I do think this is going to play out. And I do think we're going to test the lows, but how fast does that go there? That's for us to find out from price action. So we had a little bit of a bearish move today. I do suspect that will continue into next week. And we'll go from there. But let's go ahead and look at some time relationships. So going into the weekend, we have one here that we're at right now. Not sure how significant that will be. We have a couple more here at 12.19. Maybe we get some sort of short-term bottom, or maybe that's where we actually start making a top. So we'll see where price is at when this cluster comes in. Remember, FOMC is at it's on the 18th. So that's, in my opinion, right in this cluster as well. So this should be a significant either reversal if price is up, if price is down, perhaps a bounce. But we'll see where it is from there. Okay, let's go over, while we're on the daily, let's check out the setup on the Qs. Nothing has changed. The whole point of me saying that in the video, it rode up this trend line again. This is the same setup. Bearish rising wedge. We're at the top of the wedge. Took another short here today, working out nicely. And this wedge will break. Eventually will break, and we'll see where that goes in time. But I think testing the bottom of the wedge is the natural spot for it to happen. So let's look at SMH. Somebody made a comment that the SMH, there's just not people don't use the SMH in order to compare technical analysis. Well, I beg to differ, and I know that SMH is a leader for the Qs. So what I talked about yesterday was this has to start, and of course it looked like it today because of Broadcom, but Broadcom's not going to lift the market. It's not Nvidia. You need Nvidia to do it, along with more of the broader market. And we're just getting negative breadth all over the place. We're oversold on everything except SMH is leading us to the downside. We're getting another lower high. And I would argue, even if it makes a little bit higher zone here, is that we have a 1-2 setup anyway, and would be looking at, can it go higher to that 62s where it rejected off of? That's a 1-2 setup. Is it just getting another lower high, which so far it's rejecting, and I feel that it is. But if it goes higher to the 786, does that really change anything? No, not in my opinion, because the bear flag is still, if it starts to ride past the 786 and it continues, I mean, there's an inflection point right there. There's the confluence. If it wanted to go straight up there today because of the earnings, it wouldn't have changed. Actually, I would have added onto my position right there for SMH. So Nvidia is working out nice for us. I usually would just do this in a individual analysis video, and that's the only difference between the individual analysis and the somebody had asked, what's the difference between the YouTube supporter 99 cents and an individual analysis with for $4.99. I do individual names, and I explain the setups that I talk about. When I made some trade alerts, I made some yesterday, and I explained in the individual names. I showed why I took those trades. We had a great trade on Microsoft. It was It was a theoretical type trade. I learned that from Theo Trade. I used to be part of Theo Trade, and I was looking for the move to get back into the options expected move, and it happened. And I set the sell, and I didn't realize that it sold until this morning. But here we go with Nvidia. Now, clearly it has relative strength here, but it's still the same flag. We don't call it a flag because it made new all-time highs. We call it a bearish rising wedge, but it's the same shape, and we are oscillating around the breakdown area here. Tried to get back above it, but was held down by the 8 EMA and the 20 moving average. This is trending down. We're rejecting off the 50 so far. Nice big move here today after a double inside day. I suspect that energy is going to continue to the downside, leading, and we could have as big as a 5 to 10% move on Nvidia as soon as next week, because this is a setup as a 1-2 setup, and a wave 3 is usually a lot more relentless. I'll go over the targets and stuff in the Discord, so make sure you check that out. Somebody asked me to give a sneak preview on the Discord. I guess I could drag down the screen here. Let me see. It comes with anything that you join. If you decide to become a 99-cent supporter, Patreon, any of those, you get the Discord anyway. So here you go, guys. Here's my dudes all up in here. We have a general chat area, talk about a few things. We have the stock talk room. That's where we do most of our talking and talk about setups and check out different stocks. We have great traders in here. This fantastic trader right here, as a matter of fact. Trade alerts. This is where I set my trade alerts. All those I'm still holding, as a matter of fact. This one, depending on if we get to the options expected move to the bottom, I'll expect this to cut out at 50 cents. A nice little double there. We'll see if the market does that. It's likely to hit one side or the other, and you can watch my options expected move tutorial if you want, which is, we have a tutorial section here as well. All here in the options expected move is right here. And it's just likely for it to hit the top or bottom. And if we're breaking down, I would suspect it hit the bottom, if it's going to hit any sides. And that trade should work out fine. All right, so that's that. Nvidia, the first stop here should be, and this is going to be our neckline, 130. And while we're here, again, this is what I show in the individual analysis and also in the Discord, so you might as well show what we got here, and we'll look at the VIX, and that's about it. Here's our head and shoulder setup. This starts to break the neckline, and we start to get a move, which I think is already happening. If this breaks down from this point, the measured move is about a 13% move here, all the way down to a good support area, about 115. And that's in, I'm looking at the other screen here, that should be the 1-2 setup, where wave 3 is likely around this area, maybe a little bit lower. And we should get a bounce, and it ultimately should resolve lower than that from wave 4 and 5, and then we should be looking for some sort of bounce after that. But a sideways bounce into another wave 4. Waste time while the market does other things, maybe catch up and things like that. So there's your freebie. Let's look at the VIX, and we'll probably look at this on the daily time frame. So far, we're hitting the wedge top here, the smaller wedge, and I don't know if we'll actually break that today, being a Friday, but you can probably look forward to this breaking down into next week. We'll watch if it breaks up. I said breakdown. Yeah, if it breaks down, then we know that the market's holding up and going to continue higher. But if this breaks out, this could start to really start moving. in a directional move. So we do have a 1-2 possible setup for moving on the VIX, and then I'll show the daily point view. And again, I'm not going to do this often. I'm still working on learning how to do these cycles because they shift them and things like that. They shift them, and I'm just not confident. So until I do something myself, I'm not going to analyze and just put somebody else's work out there as if it's my own. Okay, so we're at this daily low cycle possible bracket for the VIX, and we should just see a cycle to the upside from this point, and this is just on the daily time frame. If you're interested, it's interesting stuff. I just again, until I have enough time with them and see what kind of work they do and confirm things, I want to learn it myself and have my own cycles so I can match it up with my work and see what we do there. So this technically cycle should be on the uprise here with the VIX. We'll see if that comes into fruition. That's all I got for you today. I just want to show you those comparisons and those dramatic moves that are certainly possible if this is the beginning of a and people talk about the Santa Claus rally. I mean, it can be a tailwind. Do we get an initial? But I think we're going to get our a little crash into Christmas, and then our Santa Claus rally is going to be a lower bounce. But we'll keep in mind that maybe it makes a new high at that point. But I highly doubt it. I think this is all getting started and we're getting to recessionary mode. But I am all for, I talked to you about yesterday. Again, sorry to drag this on, but I just want you to be clear that I am still in the camp that this could just be 2000. I went way past it. Whiplash here, 2016 sideways. No, 1960. That's what I was talking about. That this situation can be a highly inflationary. I'll just do this again. This type move where you're getting an expanded move. Very similar to what the Corona crash came out of 2016 to 18 to 20. It was an expanding like triangle or wedge type action, just like this. All right, this one ended up being kind of like a diamond and then a breakout. So we're up for whatever at this point. But I think it's going to be a larger type move of this, just in comparison to this alternation here. Thanks for joining us here at OptionsTender. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.